Welcome to Cyber-Conversations, the show where it's okay to agree to disagree. Today we are finishing up our conversation about Iron Man, released in 2008, the beginning of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. If you haven't already, please hit like and subscribe and enjoy the show. Well, I don't know. I've liked all the Marvel movies recently too, except for Love and Thunder. I wasn't a big
Love
fan
and
of
Thunder's
that.
so bad.
But every other, like all the other movies that people like to trash on, but I thought they were great.
Now we're on this topic of Marvel movies and the impact now that the studios have, where it's just churn and burn. Let's make the next thing and crank it out and crank it out and crank it out. It's like,
I think it's ironic that if studios took their hands off of it and let filmmakers make films, more people would like them and more people would come and give these studios money. But instead, the studios are like, well, we got to get our hands in it so that we can tell them what to do because we know what the public want. And then they
Right.
give us shit that we don't want
Right.
yeah, well,
because the studios don't have vision.
Well, the executives of the studios, there's probably
Right.
some people in the
Oh, yeah,
studio
yeah.
somewhere.
But Kevin Feige had vision, but
Of
the
course he did.
financiers didn't. The financiers said, no, you can't do that.
it makes that scene in The Incredibles really relevant, where the guy's yelling at Mr. Incredible at the insurance company. He goes, "Going to make our people happy, Bob."
Right. Right.
It's not about making our customers happy. It's about making our people, the shareholders.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the shareholders. And I want to
And
hear...
not for nothing, I'm a Disney shareholder. So
I want to hear... I know you mentioned Obadiah Stane being a weak point in Iron Man, coming back to it. What's another...
well, I don't.
Well, I just want to see if there's other weak points, because I think this film is pretty flawless. Like, I have very little issue with the
I
movie.
think that's fine. Like I remember that I'm perfectly like
right.
you have a right to that opinion.
No, yeah,
Um,
but I want to hear where... Because I look at it
I
a
don't
little
think
bit through
Obadiah's
rose-colored
like,
glasses, so I
True.
want to see what other flaws are with the movie that I'm not
I
seeing.
mean, aside from Obadiah Stane, like I said, I don't think he's a major flaw because I love Jeff Bridges and it was great to see him again. I just think that the character doesn't have a whole lot of motivation to do the things he does other than jealousy. And that kind of felt like,
No, he wants to make money because Tony comes in and is like, "We're not going to make weapons anymore." And he's like, "Well, we're a weapons manufacturer. That means we're not going to make weapons. I can't sell them under the table."
He already was a bad guy, though. We find out halfway through the movie he put out a hit on Tony. That's why he was captured in the first place. It wasn't about money. He wanted
Right.
to be the top
Right.
dog.
Yeah, he
Right.
wanted to own Stark Industries,
Right.
not have Tony in
Right.
the mix at
Right.
all. So,
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, I
you
guess.
look at the magazine covers within the first 10 minutes of the film. It shows
Yeah.
Obadiah alone looking at the globe, and then it suddenly shows him behind Tony.
Yeah,
You know,
like
as
he's
a
in the
secondary.
background.
It's like,
Right.
oh,
Right.
okay,
Yeah. No, I get it.
give him
Yeah.
the chip on the shoulder type of tactic. So,
Yeah.
and he
But
works.
other than that, like the terrorists would have been like they mentioned the 10 rings, but and I agree with you. It would have been weird to put the Mandarin right at the beginning. On the, it's like putting Thanos in the first Avengers movie.
Right, or
Give a
Ultron
little
killing
hint.
Ultron in his own movie. Yeah.
Like giving a hint of Thanos in the first Avengers movie teases it for the rest of the movies to come. But
Sure.
if they had made him the main character, they would have destroyed everything that came after. Because how do you compete with that? So you can't make Mandarin the main character, or the main villain in the first Iron Man movie, and then kill him off.
But Iron Man
And
also didn't...
that's also kind of what they. Sorry, that's kind of what they did with Kang the Conqueror.
Sure. Well, they were trying to poise him up to be the next Thanos.
Major Thanos, and then they killed him by an army of ants. So people were like, "Oh, this guy's not a threat."
I think too with Iron Man is it's hard to name another villain that aside from Ultron, but he creates him, and it's not like you can just slap that into an origin story. Like, oh,
Right.
here's Ultron. It's
Yeah.
you have
Then
the
you have
Mandarin.
Spider-Man 3. You got too many, too
Yeah.
much going on and not enough time to flesh it out.
Right. And you need to focus on Tony. And I think that's why I like this movie so much is it stays focused
It's
on
character
its
driven.
story. It's character driven and focuses on its narrative. The enemy is clear, whether it's kind of one dimensional or not. You have the terrorists and Obadiah working together. You know who the bad guy is. There's no question about it. And I think it comes to during a time, I don't know what it was with the mid 2000s, like post 2005 movies, where we were suddenly obsessed with the Middle East in those types of movies. I can name, like The Kingdom, The Hurt Locker.
Well, we're talking about a period not long after 9/11. So.
Sure. Yeah. But it's like, wouldn't those movies have come out right after 9/11, not 7 years later? Anyway.
Well, no, we were still having the war in Afghanistan. Yeah, 2008. Bush was still president when the movie came out.
I had a point. Now I lost it with the whole military aspect of it. I
know exactly what that's like.
Transformers. That's what I was going for. We had the Transformers, effect with it as well, where we had a clear enemy. But it not that the enemy was the Middle East and Transformers, but it was set with that backdrop. And Iron Man, the first 45 minutes, 30 minutes of the movie is set with that backdrop, and it goes back and forth between that. You don't get that type of story anymore. I know I've said that already, where it's just very grounded in the MCU, which is fine because now we're all familiar enough to accept whatever comic book jargon they want to throw at us, because I think Guardians of the Galaxy, getting a little ahead of myself, that took it to the next level.
It was a great movie, but I think that's one of the things that makes the MCU stand out, especially in contrast to the DCEU, is that it's not realistic. Like, this is not a realistic world at all.
Sure.
But there's a lot of stuff that does tie it to our world, but it's a brighter one with superheroes flying around in it, but also a lot of humor, a lot of funny stuff. They know Marvel is really good at, making a serious movie with a lot of comedy in it. And we'll talk about this when we get to it, but that's part of why my favorite Thor movie is the first one. I know a lot of people love Ragnarok, and I love that movie too. But the first Thor movie is my favorite because, and many people will say this, the first Thor movie was a superhero movie that happened to have a lot of comedy, whereas Thor Ragnarok was a comedy movie that happened to feature a superhero.
I think Thor, the first one too, also benefited from having a good director with Kenneth Branagh. The same way Iron Man benefited from having Jon Favreau, even though he wasn't like he
wasn't as well known, but he was
prolific and skilled, but he wasn't where he is now. No, I think, I don't know. I love Iron Man.
I do like it a lot. And I do something that we mentioned before that I didn't get a chance to say, but one thing that I do love, even though, as you said, this was far from the first movie to have a post-credit scene, but I don't know if, Bob, you remember, but when I was a kid, I always wanted to sit through all the credits.
I know.
It wasn't because, even as a kid, it wasn't because I thought there might be a scene afterward, because there were very few. There were some, but there weren't very many. But I always stayed because I thought it was a sign of respect for the people who made the movie. But that's the insanity that is my life. Like, that's my mother used to get mad at me because she wanted to leave, and I'd be like, no, I got to sit here for the credits.
I like that though. I mean,
I still do it.
I don't do it for every movie.
Well, I definitely did not do it for Wonder Woman 1984. I stayed because I knew there was a post-credit scene, but I would have left otherwise. And as it turned out, I liked the post-credit scene more than the movie.
I don't even know what I didn't watch 1984 Wonder Woman.
It was bad. It
was so
I watched
bad.
20 minutes and I turned it off.
I don't know which is worse, Wonder Woman 1984 or Superman 4: The Quest for Peace. Or Batman and Robin.
How dare you? How dare you? This is an 81 Honda. No.
Batman and Robin has nipples, okay?
You know what? That's fine, because, I don't know what's worse, Wonder Woman 84 or Spider-Man 3, because just like Topher Grace in Spider-Man 3, and you stick Kristen Wiig in there as Cheetah, oh my God. It was like, I love Kristen Wiig, but that was, again, complete nonsense. And like,
But if you're like if you're comparing them,
I mean, they
and
could
you
have
say that
Bucky
you love
Barnes, Steve
Kristen
Trevor,
Wiig,
and like he fell into a crevice of ice,
I know,
and then
yes.
so
But so if you're drawing comparisons to say the two are alike, and you're saying Kristen Wiig and you love Kristen Wiig, does that mean that you really love Topher Grace?
no,
You just
I
didn't
don't
like him
like.
in the movie?
I'm not a big fan of Topher Grace. I know a lot of people like him, and that's great, and everybody likes that '70s show. But like, other than that, that's
So, in addition to just talking about, I mean, we could go on for hours talking about Robert Downey Jr. And Kevin Flynn. I don't, but I suppose we should also talk about the other people, because there's a lot of really big names in this, and a few not so big. I guess the first one we should talk about is Gwyneth Paltrow, and I'll be the first to admit I'm not a huge fan of her, like, in general. I've never liked most of her movies, and even as Pepper, like, I think the character of Pepper is good, and her portrayal of Pepper is good. I still think that there could have been other. I mean, I'm just not a huge fan, I guess. Maybe it's partially a bad taste in my mouth, because I think, if I remember correctly, the first movie I ever saw Gwyneth Paltrow in was Shallow Hal, and I don't know if I've ever forgiven her for that.
Not
Listen.
Shakespeare in Love.
Shakespeare in Love was great. Whose heart didn't break with Seven?
I don't think I ever. Wait, Seven, the movie? I hated that movie.
I know, right? I mean,
I hated it. Everyone talks about
she was,
how good it
but
is.
Josh, she was also in one of your favorite movies. Your top favorite movie, aside from Superman, is she was in Hook.
Wait, Gwyneth Paltrow?
Yeah, she was Wendy during that
Yeah.
the sequence.
Yeah, she was young Wendy.
Yeah, she was a young Wendy, not the young.
Yeah,
she was.
yeah. I forgot about that. I still, every time someone mentions Hook, I keep thinking Glenn Close was in Hook, and I'm just like weirded out.
What?
Yeah,
Yes.
she's the boo box.
She's the boo box.
Not the
player.
Oh,
boo
that's
box.
right. That's right. Yeah.
Also in the MCU.
Yep.
Yes. Yeah.
No, Gwyneth Paltrow. Yeah, not a big fan of her as a person. Clearly, neither is Chris Martin, because they got divorced. But I mean, Pepper is one of those characters where you're not really made to love her, I don't think. And in the first one, she's kind of a stick up the ass type of personality.
I will say, though, that I do love Pepper's very first scene,
Sure, yeah. Where
because I love a good amount of snark.
Yeah.
And
that
Oh
was
yeah, and she, the chemistry they had on, it was good.
Yeah.
I mean, that the relationship.
yeah.
Again, it's all part of the Stark saga of 23 movies.
Yeah,
Oh,
and
where
they did. Yeah, it's not like I'm not a big fan of Gwyneth Paltrow myself, but she did a good job in these
She
movies,
did.
and
Yeah,
I
she
don't
did.
want
It
to
well.
blast her for like unwarranted. That scene where she has to stick her hand in his chest to like take
That
out
was
the.
good. Mhm.
That was a great scene. I mean, more because of him than because of her, but even her reactions when she's like, "Oh, there's pus."
Yeah,
That was it was good.
it's
but-
just discharge from the device.
yeah, the best though was when she pulls out the thing and she's like, was that supposed to? She's like, is that
He's
bad?
like, don't
He's
let
like,
it
"It's
touch
not."
the sides. It's like Operation.
Yeah, he's like, it's because you yanked it out like a trout. And she's like freaking out, and that gets to me every time, including yesterday when I was watching it.
I think one of the things talking about characters is Terrence Howard playing.
I was about to say that.
Yeah, Rhodey, and it's like we never. I thought he was good as Rhodey.
Oh yeah, he was really good. I was
and I-
semi disappointed when they revealed he was not going to be in part 2.
Yeah,
Well,
And that's not to throw shade at Don Cheadle, who I think is really good as Rhodey too. I don't remember what happened with Terrence
there's
Howard.
been so many stories.
they
It's like
say it's he said she said type of scenario
Yeah,
at this point
basically.
where I wanted more money, or Disney didn't want to pay me, or something like that.
Yeah, he's saying he wanted more money and they didn't want to pay him, and they're saying it wasn't that he wanted more money, but he wanted way too much money. And I don't know.
Yeah, but I mean, he did well. I, we always make fun of this, and Dad, you know this. Where he's like Downey, and he's looking for him in the house, and that always cracks me up. I don't like his voice. I don't think Terrence Howard has as much depth as an actor as Don Cheadle. And
I
this was
haven't seen him in anything else. So
Hotel Rwanda. If
I
you ever
never
get a
saw it.
chance.
That was a
Fantastic.
great movie.
Watch that in school, actually. So that's the only reason I saw that. So thanks, public education.
Hey, I watched Faces of Death when I was in school.
But
You did not watch it in school. I guarantee you, you did not watch that.
Somebody
in
handed
school.
me the VHS tape. I took it home. Or I may have
but
taken.
you didn't
I may
watch
have
it
taken
in
the cart,
school.
the TV cart with the VHS on it. Yeah, rolled that into an empty classroom and watched it.
the the character of Rhodey is a great character, great supporting
Yeah.
character. I think Terrence Howard did a great job in the first movie. And this was before the, obviously Disney owned everything, so they had no problem recasting if needed. It happened with the Hulk too. So,
But that one was definitely well deserved. Like, I don't know what happened with Terrence Howard, but I do know what was going on with Edward Norton.
Yeah,
I don't know what was going on with Edward Norton. I like
Well, we can talk about that next week.
I like Edward Norton better than Mark Ruffalo, but that's just me. Again, a better actor than Mark Ruffalo.
I think the problem, the biggest problem I have with Edward Norton is his name, because I just keep thinking of the Honeymooners.
I don't
Does
know.
no one ever realize that Edward Norton is Ed Norton? Art Carney's character in The Honeymooners was named Ed Norton.
yeah.
I never watched The Honeymooners.
Yeah,
Norton!
Yeah.
Hey, you roughy boy.
Yeah, you're old, Josh. Anyway,
Yes, I am. I did not watch it when it first came out. It was reruns.
I think the Rhodey thing too, they played it well at the end when he looks at the Mark II suit.
Yeah,
and he's like, next time. And
babe.
it's like, they actually
I remember
that.
I remember the groan in the theater, like, dang it, 'cause-
Well, that was my point, was we look at X-Men 2, I know we talked about that earlier, where Colossus is in it for 5 seconds and Wolverine tells him to kick rocks, basically, like, no, you need to go help the kids. And you're like, that was a great scene. Where is he? Is he coming back? No, he's not coming back.
I can help you. Help
so it was-
them. No, help Wolverine.
In contrast, it's great that we did get the fully fleshed out War Machine story and character, even though it was recast. I think it was
Yeah.
it was
I
a
agree.
good character, and it was a lot of fun to watch. Both Terrence Howard and Don Cheadle portray that character. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's always a little bit of a disconnect when they have a different actor, but sometimes it can't be helped.
sure,
The worst one, and I'm not saying that the replacement was bad, just the fact that we had someone for a really long time and then got replaced was William Hurt as General Ross being replaced by Harrison Ford. And I love Harrison Ford, and he did a great job. It's just William Hurt was dead, and that kind of got in the way of filming.
Right.
So, and that sucks.
That'll happen. It'll get in the way of filming when that happens. It's unfortunate, but they should have
Tell
just.
that to Peter Cushing.
Yeah, I know. I was going to say they should have just AI'd him in there.
I don't want to say anything bad about Harrison Ford either, because he'll kick my ass. But and I thought he did a really good job, but he's not. It's just there's always a little bit of a disconnect watching someone who doesn't look the same, doesn't sound the same, playing a character that in your mind is the same, but he doesn't feel the same. And that's how I kind of feel with going from Terrence Howard to Don Cheadle. I know it's the same character, but it doesn't feel like the same character, and that it's not Don Cheadle's fault. It's just.
I think they both though did an excellent job.
Oh, definitely,
With
definitely.
Even though it's different actors, different acting styles.
Yeah.
Terrence Howard seemed a little bit more on that Robert Downey Jr. humor level than Don Cheadle. I think they both did the military man role well, where they were kind of straight laced until Tony broke them down. Where Don Cheadle probably excelled in that a little bit more, playing the military type a little bit better. So, but Terrence Howard did a great job. I mean, the scene with the plane in Iron Man 1, where he's like, no, we're not drinking. And then it cuts and they got the stripper pole in the middle of the plane. So,
Which is interesting because at the time, by the way, that particular scene, as well as when he's macking down on, God, I dated myself with that one. With the gal from who he's, tries to interview him, and he's like, I'd like to show you personally. And then the next
Laura Gibb, right?
Yeah, those those scenes, you think like what they have with MCU movies now, it's like, wow, that was I know it was trying to show the whole
womanizing.
Yeah, the womanizing thing and all that other stuff. But still, when I went back and watched it, I was like, oh yeah, gosh, that's, it seems a little not out of place, but it's, not something you'd see.
Different studio though. Disney.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah,
You see,
Disney
and that's
probably
the thing,
wouldn't do that.
That's
but
the
also,
thing you need to keep in mind is that, it's all been Disney-fied.
I think most of the time that's a good thing. But in this case, if Disney had had their hands in it and this movie had been made and they didn't allow that to happen, it would have been hard to show Tony the way he is.
But I don't know if I agree with that, because by the time Iron Man 3 rolled around, Disney owned it, and it still had that same vibe, same Tony
he still wasn't
character.
Much of a womanizer though, because most of that movie he was already with Pepper.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Other than that opening scene with the other girl, like that's the only time.
Could you name another MCU character aside from Star-Lord, which we did get a little bit of womanizing there in Guardians 1? Could you name another character that is a womanizer? I couldn't.
No, but like that's the thing. If Disney had made the first Iron Man and they had kept him from being a womanizer, because it's not a very Disney image, then that would have definitely hurt the movie, because we're supposed to see him, this is who he is. That's again part of why he'll never be my favorite superhero, because I don't want to emulate that. I want to, I want to be Captain America.
I think though Jon Favreau threw that in there with the script and the directing. I think about the cartoon, The Invincible Iron Man, that feature film they did where it was all cartoon. It was PG-13. I don't remember a whole lot of womanizing being shown in that. So I think it was a different
direction. If it was an animated show, then they would have been
PG-13 though. It wasn't a show, it was a movie.
Right, but they're still they were kind of limited. I mean, even look at Batman the Animated Series, which was cutting edge. Like it was like a lot of people were like, this is a bit dark for kids, but they still were not allowed to show a lot of stuff. You almost never saw someone die. Only in rare episodes would they show someone dying. But like every time one of those police blimps would blow up, you'd always see two little parachutes go off in the distance to say, "Oh no one died."
They've been doing that since G.I. Joe in the 80s.
Oh yeah,
well, Batman doesn't kill people, and nobody dies in the Batman universe.
He didn't blow up any blimps. It was always like the Joker, but the Joker almost never killed anyone either, because you'd always see parachutes.
Well, even in the Arkham games, you don't kill him. You send him into the hospitals. I mean, one final character we didn't really talk about, and I thought it was perfect casting and perfect direction and stayed true to the character, was Samuel L. Jackson as Nick Fury right there at the end for the 3 minutes that we saw him.
He's really good. No one ever talks about the fact that it was a race swap. Not that that's an important thing, but a lot of people like to get angry about other race swaps. But this was definitely a race swap. But I didn't mind. I thought it was great.
But it was a comic accurate race swap, because there is an African American Nick Fury, not just a white one, Caucasian Nick Fury. So I think it was fine. I think Samuel L. Jackson is beloved.
He can do anything he wants.
Yeah. And I mean, he could have walked on with a Royale with cheese, and people would have loved it, So
I was very, very, very happy when they threw in a Pulp Fiction reference at the end of Civil War.
Which one was that? Which reference?
He supposedly died. He faked his death, and then at the end, he's standing at his grave, and it says, "The path of the righteous man." 25:17.
Yeah, I was gonna say, yeah.
And I saw that in the movie, and when I saw that tombstone, I was just like, yes, because Pulp Fiction is one of my favorite movies. And then one other thing I guess we should talk about if we're segueing to something else. For I think I've mentioned before, I'm a huge music fan.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like I should acknowledge the very first sound introducing the Marvel Cinematic Universe is Back in Black by AC/DC.
Yep.
There are very few songs that I would want to open it more than that. I can't think of any offhand. Love that song.
It is. That was that did
perfectly
set a tone completely.
Yeah, it perfectly encapsulates the type of, that is Tony Stark right now. He's back.
Yep.
Yeah, I miss also the book paper flipping pages when the Marvel logo came
Yep.
out.
Not that the theme's not cool, but I did notice that.
Oh yeah. The music is done really well in Iron Man, but the licensed music always draws me because I'm a huge music fan, and especially of the '70s. In that respect, Tony and I would definitely get along.
In the scenes with when he's working on the engine, the gaskets on that Ford coupe. He's got hardcore rock music going on in the background there as well.
Yeah.
So, I think it just paints his character well. I think that's a aside from the comic book flipping, I didn't think about that. The first sound of the MCU is a musical soundtrack. So,
yeah, Back in Black by AC/DC, and of course the final at the end of the movie, he says, "I am Iron Man," and we get Black Sabbath. I don't know how they would have if they hadn't gotten the rights to the song Iron Man. I don't know. Can't think of anything more fitting. That's another great song.
It is.
Great action scenes, great soundtrack, great art, great CGI for the time. Which again,
it still holds up pretty well.
Something I was gonna say something we don't get anymore from Disney, really, unless
visuals.
Well, visually, their movies are appealing. This quality of the CGI, because they don't want to pay their senior CGI artists,
give them enough time to
Yeah.
I can't think of a movie that came out recently that looked like bad.
Black Widow, No Way Home, Black Panther,
Black Widow,
Doctor Strange 2, Thor 4.
I don't remember anything that like took me out of the movie. I don't know, but I'm not all that discerning when it comes to special effects. Like I enjoy it, but I mean I've said this before on here. When I'm watching a movie, I'm not necessarily looking at the technical stuff. I'm definitely not going to be the guy who's like, that camera work is very impressive. Or those special effects were done just right. I think I'm going to give it a 10. I look at the overall movie. I don't have the ability to break it down into pieces like that. So I kind of base it on, am I having a good time? Am I glad I'm watching this movie? Or do I want the movie to be over? If I want the movie to be over, I'm going to say I didn't like it. Right. But if I sat through it and I was engaged, I liked it.
Right.
Yeah.
I think that's fair. No, I'm not saying I judge movie off CGI. It's just the drop in quality from the mid 2000s to now is noticeable, regardless of how dated those look. If you go back and watch, a movie from 2006 to now, like Superman Returns, some of that CGI doesn't hold up. But
well, dude, just go back and watch Jurassic Park. I mean, that to me is kind of a
true.
That holds up.
But that one, like their entire budget, like everything else was secondary to making the dinosaurs looking. That's why the first Jurassic Park is such an incredible movie, and I don't like any of the others.
Yeah, I mean, go back. Like I think of Mars Attacks. That's still fully
I didn't like
holds
that
up.
movie. I didn't like that movie.
But regardless of whether you liked it or not,
that CGI was not even good when it released. That was
It was supposed to be that like that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was supposed because Tim Burton, he had come off of Nightmare Before Christmas, and he's like, "Oh, we'll do stop motion for the aliens." They're like, "Have you seen computer technology?" And they showed him that, and that's why they did it. But I mean, a movie like that, like Mars Attacks, having not good CGI or deliberately doing it that way makes, it adds to the movie because it's already like a campy, UFO.
I guess when people say like bad visuals and stuff, I keep thinking about Air Force One because that's a good example of a bad visual when the plane explodes, and really Atari 2600 could have done a better explosion. I think it was done on an Atari 2600. You can see the little squares going away from the plane.
But with Iron Man, I like, the suit up sequences. I think Disney's kind of cheapened it a little bit with the nanotechnology. I know it's supposed to, be improved technology. It's just kind of boring to watch that for the 100th time because everybody's got nanotechnology now. So the old school suit up sequences are some of my favorite scenes at Iron Man.
I definitely do. I do like
that
those.
soundtrack.
Yep.
Dun, 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 dun.
And I do like Paul Bettany's delivery of as Jarvis too.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
My favorite in that is when he's got the gold suit and
yeah.
And he's like, a little ostentatious, don't you think? And Jarvis is like, oh, yeah, because you're always so subtle, or whatever he says. I
Paul
mean,
Bettany-
it mirrors a little bit what Alfred said in The Dark Knight when it was Michael Caine. And he's like, will you be taking the Batmobile in the middle of the day? It's not very subtle. Oh, then the Ferrari. Oh,
Yeah,
yes, much more subtle.
Yeah. But overall, I don't know. I'd probably give Iron Man. I know we're not doing like a scoring system with each of these, but in my personal, I know I said it's probably my third favorite MCU movie. I'd probably give it like a 9 or 9.5 out of 10. That's I don't know. I just find it to be a special movie.
I agree. I think it's a 9 or a 9.5 out of 10. Yeah, top 5 out of the MCU.
Yeah, out of the MCU. There's more important superhero movies than Iron Man, but I think for what it was at the time,
I think
important.
it's extremely important, especially considering what came after and what it introduced, which we didn't know at the time.
And it was good and successful.
Yeah.
I mean, it almost rivaled The Dark Knight. I was doing research on box office numbers. It almost rivaled it financially at the time. So
sorry, I had to pause because I had to yawn.
Okay.
I know. I've been yawning, and I'm like, I'm sitting back, and I'm like,
yeah, you definitely look like you're ready to cash out.
I am so tired. I'm sorry.
Well, as you can tell, we could probably talk about Iron Man for 15 hours, but I don't want to bore you guys with that. So let's, I think that this is a good time to stop. Next week, we are going to be discussing I think it is the only non-Marvel Studios produced Marvel movie, which is The Incredible Hulk. Am I wrong? Is that not the only?
I think it was Universal.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, you're right. It was Universal. Technically, Spider-Man was still Sony for a while too.
Mm-hmm. It still is. Yep.
Yeah, I mean he's owned by Sony, but I think Marvel Studios made either produced the movies or they were directly involved, but there was limited involvement from Marvel to Universal. They basically said we're going to help you with it, and then they kind of had their hands off for the most part. And we got the Edward Norton featuring Incredible Hulk. Not to be confused with the Ang Lee, Eric Bana led
Hulk. Just Hulk.
Yeah. Hulk. Yeah, no, we're going to talk about the Incredible Hulk next week. And if you haven't been paying attention, we're embarking on our journey through the entire MCU, beginning today with Iron Man and continuing all the way up to Spider-Man No Way Home. So we hope that you'll be enjoying it along with us, because it's not about the end, it's about the journey. It's not about the destination.
Journey before destination.
Journey before destination. Life before death.
So if you haven't already, please hit like and subscribe. Leave some comments because we do read them. So yeah, please feel free to contribute, and it definitely does help us because it makes us feel like we should continue. And as always, please remember, make tomorrow better than yesterday.